Welcome to the Yo Soy Joaquin Podcast, Episode 1. Let me introduce everybody that we have on the show today, starting from the left, Mr. Fernando Romero. Next to him, Dr. Cesar Quintana. Then we have Serafin Calvo. And also, Raciel Godinez. Mr. Romero, if you could please also introduce yourself and let the viewers know what it is that you do.
Muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much. And good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Yo Soy Joaquin. I am Fernando Romero. Tonight I am Joaquin. I've been here in Las Vegas for 58 years. So I know where all the bodies are buried and even more some that haven't been buried yet. But I'm so happy to be here. This is our first broadcast, as all of you know. And please welcome to this program.
My name is Dr. Cesar Quintana. I'm firstborn of my family in the United States from Sonora, Mexico, born in Tucson, Arizona, and raised here in Las Vegas. And I want to welcome everybody to Yo Soy Joaquin. I think it's vital that we all figure out how to collaborate and get together and figure out a way to help La Raza and get everybody to start working together.
Muy buenas tardes, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Serafin Calvo. Friends and family know me as Cera. Lived here in Vegas since 1975. One of 9 brothers and sisters. Moved here from Tijuana when I was 4 years old. Been a part of this community for a very long time. Always trying to give back, always trying to help. And this is one of the reasons why we came together as these young men here that are beside me to see how we can help our community come together as one.
Buenas tardes, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Raciel Godinez. I was born in Ensenada, Baja California, Mexico. Raised here in Vegas. I'm very excited to be in this round table and to give back to the community, to pass a message, to open some minds, to contribute, and to put my 10 cents in. And I want everybody to have a great night and bless us all.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. So first question, why Yo Soy Joaquin? Who is Corky?
I am the oldest gentleman on this table. And I remember when I first heard of Corky Gonzalez. That was back in 1967. And Corky really opened up my eyes. Not that I needed eye-opening. I'm from El Segundo Barrio in El Paso, Texas. The Vatos Locos came from there, and then they went to East LA and every place else. Pero allí nació el Pachucón in El Paso, and I'm very proud of that. And even prouder to have known of Corky Gonzalez. I wish I had known him personally, but he did so much. He's one of the leaders of the Chicana movement that started in 1967, more or less, and then moved on from there. And got together with other people, Reyes Lopez Tijerina, Jose Angel Gutierrez, and a few other leaders that the time that really initiated el movimiento de la raza.
Also, I just want to read this for Corky Gonzalez. He was a Mexican-American boxer, poet, political organizer, and activist. He was one of the many leaders for the Crusade for Justice from Denver, Colorado. And I just want to, thank his family for giving us opportunity to share Yo Soy Joaquin. I think it's relevant to today's culture and understanding that we're still, going through some of the similar processes that they've gone through. I think he, in the poem, it was a manifesto of what we're going to feel in today's time. And what we're going through now, as Mexican Americans, Latino Americans, I think it's important that we listen to the poem. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it many times. Every time you listen, you will feel something. And we just want to honor his family, who have given us the opportunity to share this with him. And as you guys can see behind us, we have El Moises painting here of Corky Gonzalez. It is in the library in Denver, and we want to thank the family once again for us to have that opportunity.
Yeah, definitely want to thank Rudy Gorky's son, for allowing us or supporting us with this, with this endeavor. One of the reasons why we chose Yo Soy Joaquin when we were thinking of names for this podcast was because of the significance of that poem. If you haven't had the opportunity to check out that poem by Rodolfo Corky Gonzalez, go ahead and read it. And like Cesar said, listen to it a couple times because it resonates, even though it was written so long ago, to our current times. And we all identify as Joaquin. Yo soy Joaquin.
When I was introduced to Yo Soy Joaquin, I listened to that poem for the first time and I connected. A lot of times I ask myself, who am I? What am I doing here? Why am I here? And there's good questions to ask myself. And listening to that poem, it cleared a little light, cleared that, where do I come from? I come from the indigenous, and also I come from the Spanish, the conquerors. So I'm both in one, and I'm here in this country, born in Mexico, raised over here. And it just put a path. It put something I could tell my family. Soy mestizo, compa. That's who I am. Yo soy Joaquin. And thank you for the family for allowing us to have that name. That was dope.
Thank you so much to the family. Let's move on in the podcast over to trending media. So the first thing that we're going to have today, it came out from the SNBTU. It says that Nevada doesn't have a worker shortage. We have a work shortage. The potential Sony Studios project could create more than 10,000 jobs. And with the project labor agreement, those jobs will go to local workers. This project will move people off the out of work list, open new apprenticeship opportunities, and strengthen our state's economy. Let's get our working families back to work. Gentlemen, what do we think about that?
Raciel, you're the one that more or less in the union and really involved with the trades union.
Shout out to my boys from NCBTU, the building trades, Vince and the team doing always a great work. Man, 10,000 jobs for carnales out there, man. That's freaking great. Put your boots on. Let's get ready to go. Let's get this party started. We got to get Hollywood over here. We're going to rock and roll. All I could say is, let's get this.
Yeah, definitely. With this Hollywood 2.0, we've been hearing about this for a little bit now. And so it's not just Sony Studios, but Warner Brothers Studios as well. There's a lot of work that's going to be here. We want to make sure that local individuals are the ones that are getting those jobs, that are being able to take care of their families. I have my carnales are in the union, and it's hard sometimes when there isn't work. With so many big projects coming online, this is good news for the community to know that there's going to be work for a little while.
Also, Serafin, we and you talked about how we grew up here in Las Vegas as teenagers. I grew up working in casinos, 5 casinos growing up. My dad did construction labor. And, during the pandemic, we lost a lot of kids. How many kids do you remember students were actually lost through the system and are no longer in school?
Over 15,000.
And are they documented in any way that where they're at and what they're doing?
So when we went virtual education, a lot of the students didn't come back. Some of the students, or the majority of the students, were inner city students, minority kids. A lot of them are Hispanic that ended up, babysitting their younger siblings, and it just worked out for the family. And a lot of them didn't come back, not working, not going to school,
And that's an issue, right? Usually when there's poverty or lack of socioeconomics awareness in these communities, a lot of times these kids end up in the streets. And I know you care a lot about that, Serafina, and you've done a lot of work, and you always talk about how important it is to care for the ones that no one's caring for. And I think, some of those people come out to be some of the best, like in boxing and sports, as you know. But why can't we look at it like they can be the best in work and labor as well? Some of them don't want to go to school, but as you know, being from Las Vegas, there's a lot of labor. And I think, maybe this is something that we could focus on, like we talked about in the past, to educate these young men and women to work in this new industry and help this economy.
Definitely. One of the things we've had these conversations with Vance is the opportunity to have apprenticeship programs for the youth. A lot of times not everybody's down to do a 4-year, college, a career. And And there's a lot of work in the trades. I mean, they make a really, really good living, but there has to be an opportunity or a pathway for these young individuals to see a pathway, right? If they're not cutting it, or they don't want to do the education 4 years in college or can't afford it or whatever the issue might be, I would love for the individuals that are already in this field, in these trades, to create pathways for the youth. Give them that hope that there is an opportunity to have a good living, make a good living, and raise a family.
Yeah, cut out the whole perspective of like how people think about us at La Raza, that we take advantage of the system, when in reality we don't. We just want good jobs and support our families. Just like everybody else, if you go to different regions of the country, people argue the same thing. We just want to make sure that here in Las Vegas, we get those opportunities to these young Latino or Latinas who want to support their families. And some of them are single family, single parent families as well. And I know that in Las Vegas, if you're a single parent, you could survive out here with this economy.
But if we've lost 15,000 kids, and definitely 3,000 is the official figure, is that we have to look for them. They cannot join apprenticeship programs if they don't have a high school diploma.
Exactly.
And so consequently, we need to round up our kids that are lost. Our last superintendent, unfortunately, didn't appear to care. When the pandemic came, some of the kids, not all the kids, were given laptops or books, and yet they were not given access to the internet. And many of them their parents had to drive up next to a school bus or a pharmacy or somewhere where they could get some of that internet so they could learn. And those were the kids with tenacity, people that want to learn. Unfortunately, many of the kids didn't want to learn. And when we made it easy for them to stay at home and relax and just chill, unfortunately, we lost them. And we have to go find them. Porque if we want to progress, if we want to have jobs within the bullet train that's coming in the next few years, that is going to employ 4,000 Las Vegans, it's going to employ, as I understand it, 10,000 people, but definitely 4,000 of them have got to be Las Vegans. We're building the Ace Stadium, etc. We need to have our kids back, get them back in school, have them graduate, and then move on to those apprenticeship programs.
And just to add to that, man, there's great apprentice programs over there. Start getting paid while you're learning. You can't really beat that. And, I got 3 of my own, and those college, university classes are not cheap. And even me as an entrepreneur, I can't even afford to imagine some of our Latino families out there. Yeah, I'm gonna take my hat off.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely, I agree with you, Fernando. You can't enter an apprenticeship program without a GED minimum. So a lot of them have already aged out to be able to go back and get a high school diploma, but they can definitely get GED, which is an equivalent to the high school diploma, which is the basic qualifier not only for apprenticeship programs but for a lot of jobs out there. So more opportunities, more programs that offer those types of services for the youth, and not just youth. There's a lot of adults that never graduated and can't promote up or can't move up to a better paying job because of that diploma or that GED. So definitely something that's needed.
Well, and we have to work together as a community. We basically are so divided with ideas and how to approach a certain problem that we don't approach the problem, mainly because we're arguing as to how to do it instead of really getting together and saying, this is how we're going to do it. We need our kids to be in line with what's going on. Again, because there will be a number of jobs opening up. And we need the skill, we need the education to be able to get some of those positions without having to count on LX importing their skilled workers and having other places transport or migrate to Las Vegas to pick up those jobs. Those jobs should belong to our kids here in Las Vegas, and we have to really approach the matter in a very positive vein.
So let me ask you guys, how do we reach them? How do we reach this youth, this generation? Because there's a big generational gap between us and them. How do we reach them so that we can kind of give them that pathway or guide them mentor them into that pathway?
Well, one thing it would be, obviously we got the social media. However, how do we identify? How do you create an identity of self, right? Because of social media, we're distracted in so many other places that we forget that we could be first generation Mexicano, and your parents got here, they work hard, and then we don't show respect for the fact that they are from Mexico. And then you might have a perspective of just consumerism, of consuming things in your life and not thinking about your culture. And I do think that, by putting out like things like what we're doing is creating that identity. Once again, it happened in the 60s and 70s when people were in uprise because there was no opportunities for education. And in Las Vegas, you don't have to have education to work in some of these jobs. Like some of the casino jobs, you're making $80,000 to $100,000 a year, And I know you have to. In the 80s, 90s, you could just go to culinary, sign up, you get a job the same day. But you can't get those jobs anymore. So I think social media and also helping with people understand who they are, and it's okay to say that you know what, I like tacos. It's not just Taco Tuesday; it's tacos every day.
Yeah.
Well, the thing too is that we have to have the unions also participate in announcing some of these jobs and some of these opportunities that will be made available to our children, because they need to have a goal in mind. We need to have something there that they can aim for, that they can strive for, and they can say, okay, I'm getting off my couch, on my mom's couch, and I'm going to learn, because the union is out there reaching out for me, and consequently I have to do my part. But this has got to be a community effort. Everybody has to be involved in it, not only through social media and the likes, but also to have people that our kids believe in and can really say, okay, if I do this, this is my treasure at the end of the rainbow. And we have to have that really shown to them. And we've got to all work together on this.
That sounds like outreach, right? So those people that are in positions of, I shouldn't say, I don't mean power, but in positions to offer up these opportunities, to do a little bit more intentional outreach, right? And not only that, but associate that with mentorship. Because at the end of the day, we know certain things because of experience. Even though we've made mistakes and we fumbled the ball a few times, that experience was gained, and that's where the gaps in generations come in, where our youth don't have to waste 20, 30 years to figure it out after, topes que se den topes en la cabeza. If we can reach out, and there's more people reaching out, whether it's an individual, an organization, or a group, to be able to provide some of those mentorship opportunities and opportunities to grow. And that's, I think, one of the things we're lacking in our community is more individuals that are reaching out and bridging that generational gap in a sincere manner, And
also being real with them. And my kids are 18, 23, and 21. And I was real with them. You have a choice. You have a choice. You choose this one, there's going to be a consequence. You fuck it up, learn from it. If it works out, try it again. Being honesty, telling them exactly what's going on, and you have a choice. No es de huevo, es porque te conviene, cabrón. That's just the way I raised them.
Do you think that drive that, for example, I remember we talked about like when you first got here, when you're coming here with your parents and you see your parents, and obviously there wasn't too much, for me, it wasn't a lot of technology, we had 8-tracks and cassettes and CDs, and I remember my dad driving this Ford Maverick and getting to work, getting up every day, and getting together as a familia. With all this distraction, there's been a breakdown probably of la familia, feeling that essence of like seeing your dad wake up in the morning and smelling those burritos de huevo at the same time, and and then him coming home from his lunchbox looking for what to eat because he left his burrito. And I remember we had four kids in our family. We used to try to like fight just to get to the burrito that my dad brought home. But being first generation, I think it's important to tell that history to your family, and and help people understand where you're coming from. Especially our children, they may not experience some of the stuff we have, but at the same time making sure that they do have that self-identity. And I think, with Yo Soy Joaquin, I think it brings back again that essence, right? To be able to understand that everybody else understands too, not just us. That, when they're helping us, they're helping, the Atzlan, they're helping people, that are doctors, that are lawyers, that are still eating tacos, And I know I break it down to a taco, but the reality is everybody's eating tacos now. And I think, don't just drink our mezcal, don't drink our tequila and have fun, but, respect the culture. But these children need to, or young kids that are coming up, and include my son. I have one son. He's 16 years old, and I'm helping him understand, hey, you're a Chicano, you're Mexicano. I'm passing the torch to you so you can carry on, this torch.
And we really have to be proud of that. We really, again, going back to Yo Soy Joaquin, it really draws the truth within and among our culture. It talks about who we were and who we are and who we might be. And it really leaves it up to basically us. And that's why we're here, the four of us, because we feel that together that we can hopefully entice others to come and join the fray, because that's what it is. It's not getting any better. In fact, it's kind of getting worse with what's going on right now with immigration and all that. I hate to throw that sour note in there, but it's true. And we have to give those students and their parents the perhaps a comfort, if not tranquility, or at least peace of mind, that we're there to help each other, and we're there to help them as well. And we have to really get together to form methods and of being able to approach our community, to be able to get together and advance through education, advance through unity of our culture, of ourselves, of what we do and what we can be doing. I think that's going to help some, at least some of the families get started.
What's next over there, brother?
Thank you. Moving on to the next topic. So, the Daily Chela posted on February 10th, exclusive, Trump appoints a Chicana from East LA to deputy assistant. The announcement was confirmed by the White House on its website over the weekend. In a significant move, President Donald Trump has appointed Jennifer Korn, a Chicana from East Los Angeles, as deputy assistant to the president for his second term. What are we thinking about this?
Jennifer who? That's the first I heard of it. And I mean, I try to stay in touch and in tune with what's going on in the world. But the fact of the matter is that somebody has been placed in that position. My question is, who is she? What is her job? What has she done? What does she plan to do in order to assist the present president to reach out to our community in a positive tone and a positive manner?
One of the things that pops in my mind is just because you look, the color of your skin is like mine, doesn't mean that you have my interests at heart. Especially, I hate to say it, but I'm a little, unsure of anything that he's doing right now. He hasn't showed me anything that shows confidence for me or my family's future, or those families around me that I associate with. Because just because you hire somebody that's brown doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be something beneficial for our communities. So yeah, like Fernando says, what is her agenda? What has she done? How is that going to benefit our community?
According to this here, these aides oversee the political and policy interests of the president. Is she speaking on? Well, she'll be speaking on behalf of the president. But I think politically, we tend to put a Latino on both parties as a face for the general population. I've been in Florida, practiced in Florida before, Arizona, California. I have my license in California, but practiced in Nevada. And the Latinos in Florida have a certain perspective, and they feel probably they're more Latino than the people from the Southwest. But I truly feel, if you see the population, be from Texas to California, Colorado, Utah, the Mexican population is overwhelmingly higher in representation. We should have more people representing at political levels when it comes to politics, of understanding that, for us, as a raza, is, we need to make sure that we can relate, just like Serafin said, to these people who are put in power, and what kind of interests are we looking at? The family? Are we looking at work? Are we looking at immigration? According to this as well, she's also possibly she also handled something to do with faith as well. I don't know her. I would have to get more information, but it's true. We need to have people who are going to understand and are going to be open-minded to help our population in general.
Man, I'll tell you what, there's been people that have done more for my community, our community, that don't look like us than people that look like us.
That's right.
It's one of those things that, just because, you have a Hispanic surname doesn't mean that you care about my community. So I think that right now, that's one of the things that everybody has a fear of. And one of the things that I definitely want to make everybody understand, that even though we talk about immigrant deportations and all the people that are getting deported and all these families that are being impacted, there's far more greater number of legal residents of Hispanic descent in this country. Far more American citizens that can vote that are of Hispanic descent than those that are getting deported. So a lot of times we tend to think that, they're se están deshaciendo de nuestra raza, nuestra comunidad. There's a lot more that are here, that are going to stay here, that are going to remain here, that have voting power, purchasing power, political power, if we can just come together and figure that out.
And that's the thing, is to come together. There are approximately 56 million Latinos in this country. And supposedly of the 56 million, 11 million may be undocumented. So obviously that leaves a wide gap, and that we can still count on that. The only thing is that you use the word together. I'll use it again. Come together to really work on enhancing our community and our participation within our community. You mentioned that one of the things that this young lady is supposed to be helping the president with is to deal with the immigrant community. My God, is she going to point out where the heck our undocumented immigrants are? So I don't know. I don't know who this lady is. I need to find out who she is and find out a little more about her in order to be able to place any kind of judgment. The fact that the president named her, right now I'm dubious.
It says that she is the deputy assistant to the president and the faith director of the White House Faith Office.
Well, the faith director right now, and her name eludes me right now, but she is one of the most unhinged individuals that there are. She was told of a family that was suffering and going through bad things, and she said, "I'll pray for them." Okay. Instead of saying, "I will do for them," where are they so I can reach out to them? No, I will pray for them. Well, I pray for a lot of people every night, but until I go out there and try to do something, if I have that power, which she does, we're not going to be able to do much. And right now, as we speak, the pastores here in Las Vegas are getting together because they're very concerned as to what's going on. Because if she is going to deal with the religious aspect of matters, we have to remember that there are church groups that are all Latino, and many of them the majority are undocumented immigrants. Is she going to, as I mentioned, kind of jokingly, although now I'm concerned, is she going to be pointing out who these people are? I can tell you right now that our pastores here locally are getting together, and it's only pastores, and once in a while they will be inviting some of us to their meetings, but they'll be inviting us, as I understand it, when they have a concrete idea as to what to do. And that way they will present a concrete idea to some of us who call ourselves leaders to be able to assist in approaching this matter. But right now I need to find out a little bit more about Ms. Corrin.
What I have to say real quick is that there's plenty of freaking jobs out there Latino could get. We got to raise our hands. We got to go get them. We got to earn them. We got to demand them. Don't just fucking wait to get pointed at. Say, hey, I'm here. I want this shit. Let's go. That's all I have to say about that.
All right, great. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to the next topic here. So, Real Vegas Locals posted on February 8th, inclusion and belonging. Vegas rebrands DEI to inclusion and belonging. The city of Las Vegas rebrands diversity, equity, and inclusion to inclusion and belonging, swapping out the familiar term for something a little different. Critics argue that DEI has become too political, often prioritizing identity over merit. Supporters, however, see it as a necessary effort to level the playing field and ensure opportunities for everyone, especially in workplaces and government. What do you think?
Well, I, for one, have to thank big companies in town and hotels for not really paying attention to the DEI matter. That we have Kroger's and Costco and Walmart and some of the, if not all of the hotel casinos, really sticking firm to the DEI because they know that it helps their business and it helps the community at the same time. So right now, this disease called anti-DEI, in my opinion, has yet to reach Las Vegas, and hopefully it will remain out.
Well, I think you're correct on that. You know, as far as Las Vegas, as you know, since the 80s and above, we've had a large growth of Mexicano Latino population growth here in Las Vegas, and without it, Las Vegas would not be where it's at today. So I think in that perspective, the inclusion and belonging, I think people are a little more comfortable. I've had opportunities to live in other areas of the country, and I know here in Las Vegas we don't feel that racial prejudice or uncomfortableness as much as other places when you walk into a restaurant. Here, everybody knows, how valuable we are as a population. So I think it is going to be very safe here for a lot of raza, and that's going to probably bring more people out here. I think we talked about that before, Stephanie. After the fires in California, we're thinking, okay, and also the political issues, we're probably going to get another influx of raza population from California, maybe Arizona. What do you think about that?
I agree. I mean, our community has always been diverse because of the type of labor that we need to run, and whether it's construction or the hotel industry. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, I think in our community really isn't as noticeable as it is in other places because they need that labor force, whether it be African American or migrants from any other country. Typically, that's the type of labor that they want in our resorts and in our construction. But at the end of the day, Vegas is still a very new town. This community is not that old. There's still, so many things that have not happened here in this community. One of the things that I've always said and that I want to see happen, and this is one of the reasons why we've come around this table because of the conversations we've had prior to this podcast about how we need more roots in our community that represent our culture. We're talking about Jorge Gonzalez in Colorado. We got individuals in California, Texas, and Arizona. And in Nevada, we have a large population, almost 1 million Latinos in this community. It keeps growing. But we really need to, set some roots down. We really need to be able to establish a little bit more, and again, I'll say it again, togetherness, because that's where we lack the most. We have a lot of leaders, a lot of people that want to, como dices, Fernando, so-called leaders, that want to be identified and recognized as leaders, but yet we can't even sit together at a table because, you're getting more mic time or more camera time or a bigger logo on the flyer and simple things like that keep us from working together when we can accomplish so much more as if we come together. I mean, this, for me, being able to meet with all of you guys on a regular basis has been something that I look forward to because this is an opportunity to collectively, and we have different backgrounds, collectively come together on some similar topics because we all are passionate about our community. We all want to help give back. So I think that in our community, as long as we continue to Look for those positive things. I don't think that's really gonna impact this community, but that's just my opinion.
57 years ago, I started an organization at the university called the Student Organization of Latinos. Why? Because in my graduation class, for example, 1970, there were 450 graduates. I was one of 8 with a Hispanic surname. That's why back in 69, 68 actually, I started that organization to go out and recruit Latinos, students from the high schools to come to our university, because yo vine del Paso, Texas. You know, I was at Texas Western College, and then later renamed the University of Texas El Paso. Por lo menos veía raza. I mean, I saw raza there. We were together in the same classes, etc. And I came here, and I was basically by myself. And I was really, I got together with our African American brothers and sisters back then, which is why I also started co-started the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, which is a black fraternity, the Nevada chapter, because we had that, and in those years, we did get together. We the black community and the Latino community, to work together and to get progress. It wasn't until 1970, for example, when the first black director of any agency in the state, Bob Archie, was appointed the director of the Nevada Employment Security Department. And then Al Ramirez was the first Chicano to be named also to head an agency, a state agency, back in 1970. And it wasn't until people like Michael O'Callaghan, Governor O'Callaghan, who was revered because O'Callaghan believed wholeheartedly in DEI back then even. And then later on, Bob Miller, who, by the way, was Governor O'Callaghan's vice governor, was he named 4 Chicanos to head state agencies. I was one of them, by the way. But it's been a slow move and a slow process, because it's ironically, the more we grow, the more that we start feeling that we are the answer to the problem, and we are the problem, and we haven't realized that. But back then, we had the Nevada Association of Latin Americans that was founded in 1967, Círculo Cubano that was founded in 1967, that were really trying hard to get progress and movement for our people. So we were working at the university level, at the business level, and at the government level. We were working, and unfortunately, somewhere along the line, we kind of hit a snag, and it kind of stopped a little bit.
Well, once again, I want to, thank you for the soul, because I was part of the student organization of Latinos Community College, and I think I shared that with you. And what's funny is, like, I felt, because I do love art, I used to have art shows in the hallways with Aztec paintings, Olmeca paintings, with the Mexicana, a lady who was from Zacatecas. She didn't know how to draw, so I drew her paintings for her, and some of them, not all of them, but out of respect for her, I'd get her paintings, and I would put food in front of the paintings, like chile colorado in front of this beautiful painting, and while people would eat, as they walked by, and they would look at the painting to share our culture, and I was doing it by myself at the time, and then we would have our meetings. But most importantly, when I got to community college at the time, on the Cheyenne campus, I was questioning myself, ¿Quién soy? And I was already saying, yo soy Joaquin, but not in an expressive way. And I think there's a lot of people like that now who have grown through the process that are ready. And Serafin, you talked about leadership and collaboration a lot. And could you talk about a little bit of that? Because you're big on that, and I appreciate when you share that, because you put people in a situation where, it's time to get back, but also, like, be responsible.
I think one of the things I feel is that everybody has something good to contribute. We tend to think, when we think of mentorship, I speak about mentorship as well, We seem to think that only somebody that has a college degree or a PhD can be a mentor. That's not the case. We do it on a regular basis with our kids, our nephews, our kids in the neighborhood. It's just a positive, somebody that's going to inspire, motivate, and help you find your way. When I was a kid, I grew up in the projects. Gangs were really, a big deal in the 70s and the 80s when I grew up, and it was hard not to be involved in that. And I wish I would have had positive role models, which I don't feel I had. So I really feel that if you're still alive right now, you're still around, you got something to give back. And I think that a leader is not somebody that has a title or makes X amount of money. It's somebody that wants to step up, is courageous enough to step in an uncomfortable situation and just stand up for what's right. And I think when you bring those together, now you have something powerful, because what I'm not strong at, you are, you see, we collaborate and we can accomplish so many things, because a lot of times when we individualize things and it's about me, we can only go so far, but collaboration, I think, is the key, not only here, not only with our community, but in business, in school, in the family nucleus, but more importantly, right now, when we need it. We had, was it 2 weeks ago when we had the protests over on the east side of Vegas? There was a lot of negative news that came out of that. There was a lot of reports that came out. There was a lot of things that happened. A few people were arrested. People have mixed feelings about that. But at the end of the day, I feel that everybody that was out there trying to voice their opinions, trying to stand up for their families, trying to do something positive, maybe they didn't do it exactly the right way or didn't know what was legal and what was not. But at the end of the day, if they would have had a little bit of guidance from somebody that did know, maybe things would have been a little bit different. That passion doesn't go away. That desire to do something doesn't go away. The frustration that we feel when our families get torn apart doesn't go away. So how can we help them harness that passion, that desire to help and give back, if it's not somebody like us?
Well, unfortunately, and we talked about this, that the people that organized that manifestation were those individuals that we've been talking about, that they want everything for themselves. They want to be the people. Unfortunately, all they did was send out, as I understand it, on social media, we're going to do this. And people showed up. And instead of somebody in a leadership role, these people that organized that thing, they backed off. And they allowed the rioters.
El desmadre que se armara.
And nobody controlled them. And I take my hat off to the sheriff, because he could have done a lot more than what he did, and arrest 2 or 3 people instead of the whole shebang. He allowed the kids. There were kids jumping on top of a police truck, and yet they were allowed. They just the police officers just kept their hands off and just basically had them come down. But eventually, a couple of guys just started, "You're not going to tell me what to do," kind of thing, and that's when all hell broke loose. But again, the so-called leaders did not lead. They simply called to arms, and people showed up, unfortunately, without any guidance, without any leadership. And that's what we lack right now, guidance and leadership. And as I mentioned before, and you mentioned, Serafin, togetherness. We need that.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to the next topic, the next post. Nevada Public Radio, NPR. The Trump administration's promise of mass deportations is striking fear into the lives of many Nevadans, including those with or without legal status. A Pew Research study in 2016 showed Nevada's estimated 210,000 undocumented workers represented 7% of the population, higher than any other state. The administration has promised only to target criminals or those with criminal backgrounds, though it has also stated entering the country alone is a crime. There's wide mistrust within the immigrant community. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I can speak on just being a doctor in the community and Bonanza and Eastern, and feeling and talking to the patients. I don't just, adjust them. I talk to them, and I've always been that way. because I've worked in 5 casinos. I've always been hospitable. I always wanted to make sure Abuelita gets that 4 seasons, 5-star, 5 diamond treatment. But what I hear from families is one goes, when this started, only one family member goes to the store and one stays home, right? And to me, I've experienced that before in Phoenix with Sheriff Arpaio's, incidents he had out there. And I would remember the patients would be scared to go to the doctor because they said that with the immigration was going to be there and these scare tactics. There's highly educated kids out there right now who are DACA, obviously, who are professionals or just waiting for that opportunity. I think we need to look at it from a non-political perspective, but of respect and dignity, and showing that the immigrant population in this country has always been and will be part of this culture, especially in this country. But Las Vegas, people know what the effect will be, and it will be economical if something was to happen, because nobody would get their sushi. There would never be Taco Tuesday again. It would run out forever, right? But which I think always is kind of funny because, being Mexicano eating tacos every day, now we have a Taco Tuesday now on our map. But we always
Not
like
anymore.
to.
Google removed it.
There you go.
Google removed it?
Well, people still talk about it.
No más faltaba.
But that's for me, it's hearing the patients, the stress and the anxiety. People come in for stress and anxiety in the office, and I can feel it. I could just hear in their voices, and some people are intimidated just to go to their doctor's appointments.
It's a sad situation. Back in 2008, Joe Arpaio became the person known because he was very happy to be able to act upon 287G, which was an MOU with the Department of Justice, in which the police would question individuals when they stopped them on the street for whatever reason and ask them what their legal status was in the country. 287G allowed them to do 2 things. One of them, incarcerate them, and the other thing is to deport them. And later on, that was modified to only ask questions if they had committed a crime. The problem with people, enthusiasts like Joe Arpaio, he was doing a lot more than that. He would arrest them and personally would take them to the border and deport them again personally. Unfortunately, now it's a lot more than an MOU with the Department of Justice. Now it is a demand,
Executive order.
Executive order, and they've appointed a immigration czar by the name of Tom Homan, who has become so vile in his stance on immigration. And it's funny because Caroline Leavitt, who is the press secretary for the presidency, was somebody says to her, well, I thought you were only going to be deporting criminals. And she said, quote unquote, if they're here illegally, they're criminals. And unfortunately, Trump is acting on that. Tom Homan is acting on that. Stephen Miller is acting on that. And hopefully, esta mujer Corn, Jennifer Corn, does not act on that, and that she tries to subvert that from happening. But right now, people are being threatened by the Department of Immigration and saying that sanctuary cities, if you have a sanctuary city, you're violating the law. So if you're a mayor of a sanctuary city, we're going to arrest you. A mayor. They will be arresting a mayor of a city if that person says, my city is sanctuary, you cannot come in here, just do whatever you want to do. So it's getting very bad. 287G was a blessing compared to what's happening now.
And adding to the same topic, it says here, FBI.Las Vegas. FBI Las Vegas is collaborating with Department of Homeland Security on immigration enforcement in Nevada. It says, our aim is to eliminate dangerous criminals from the streets, and we are committed to this partnership. What are your thoughts about the FBI collaborating with DHS?
Well, it's not just the FBI; it's the DEA, ATF. All these federal agencies are. I mean, they don't have the manpower to tackle this problem. I mean, they're not just deporting those that have deportation orders that are criminals. It's everybody. there is a quota. There's a number they're trying to reach, and when you work with quotas, your judgment is going to be skewed in favor of you trying to accomplish that quota. What you said, Cesar, that when you have people that are undocumented, both parents don't go out at the same time in case they get taken away. At least one parent stays behind. We were talking about the impact of our students. When you talk about emotional learning, emotional distress, how are our students going to be able to perform in school? How are they going to be able to achieve the grades they need to achieve? How are they going to be able to go to school with the fear of coming home and their parents are gone? I mean, these are problems that are going to be long lasting, far beyond the 4 years that Trump's going to have doing this. So those are the type of impacts that we got to prepare for. Definitely, it impacts the family, whether you're mixed status or your legal status. It's going to impact everybody.
Yeah, because you can have a citizen living in your household, and you could have a tia, the one you love, your favorite tia, your tío. All of a sudden, because you may have voted a certain way, but didn't think that they were going to take them. Yeah. And that's what's happening now. And people are basically putting it underneath the rug or trying to expose that. But that's what happens. And then maybe, we need to, like Senor Fernando said here, we need to figure out how to work together and understand the messaging and who controls the narrative. And that's important.
And that's one of the things that we need to do as far as planning how to deal with the matter. Because it's not only go to your tío's house if I'm deported. The tío has to have some kind of legal paper that says I can take care of my nephew or my niece.
Power of authority.
And consequently, we need to have good immigration attorneys that can help out as to what to do, what papers to file in order to be able to assist that child and that family from just having somebody, a 10-year-old kid, just out there in the world without any kind of guidance, and the police prohibiting his uncle to sign any legal document or what have you. So we need to have plans, and we need to get together to draw up those plans, and it's got to be a unified matter. Again, the only one I know right now, and I don't want to offend anybody, but Mike Kagan from the University Immigration Clinic is doing this. But who else is doing it? We need, again, to get together with the leadership of this valley to get together as to how we're going to help families from suffering more than they will be suffering if one of the parents is picked up or both parents are picked up.
I just want to say to Raza out there, man, one of the things that the media, sometimes government, they want to put fear in us. And if that fear comes, that fear is real, don't let it beat you, man. We're better than that we have rights. Talk to people, find out, see what you could do. Just don't fear, it's no good.
Yeah, the other thing is the separation, the polarization of our community. Prior to what's going on now, I mean, there was more people from different races, different backgrounds, different political parties, different football teams that would be able to have a meal together. Nowadays it's like if and that's one thing. Religion and politics, a lot of people don't disclose, and sexual orientation, a lot of people don't disclose those things, right? Because of fear of discrimination or how people are going to react to you. But the reality of it is if you voted for Trump, good for you. If you feel that he has your best interest at heart, good for you. But for a lot, that is, like you said, a fear. That is something that is separating families, that is causing people not to go to school, not to go to church, and not to go to work, which is going to impact the community as a whole. Instead of being a contributing member of society, now you're hiding out, or you're not going to the doctors, you're not getting checked, you're not going to school. I mean, everybody gets impacted differently. And even though this topic or what we're talking about here, this podcast, is specific to what we know and to our community, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that don't look like me that are saying, what the heck is going on? How can we make this better?
Facts.
Well, and I see where of course ICE is permitted to do almost anything they want. And again, it's one of the things where we have to come together to be sure that ICE does not do everything they want. That's why I take my head off
Checks and
to
balances.
the yes, to the Clark County School District trustees that passed. I'll call it an ordinance for lack of a better word, but they said that they will not allow anybody who does not come in with a warrant from a federal court to take any kid or any employee or any person from the schools. These individuals just coming in and saying, I'm with the FBI, great, it's fun, get out of here. And that's the way it's got to be. That's the way the school district is now reacting relevant to this ICE barrage that's going to be happening and is happening, that they have to have a federal warrant in order to pick up a person, not a group of people, not conduct a mass deportation. Yeah, they have to pick up an individual.
And Rob just pulled out right now, Know Your Rights. If you want to go ahead and read that, Rob.
Yes. So the ACLUMV posted, if you interact with ICE agents at work, here are some tips. Ask if you're free to leave. If so, you may calmly walk out. You have the right to refuse consent to a search. You have the right to remain silent. You do not have to discuss your immigration status with anyone, such as about where you were born, whether you're a citizen, or how you entered the country. If you have valid immigration documents, you should show them. Never provide fake documents. If you're arrested, say that you wish to remain silent until you're speaking with a lawyer. You have the right to record your interaction with immigration agents as long as you do not interfere. This is tips for how you interact with ICE agents at work.
And just to emphasize one of those things, Rob, is that if you tell one of these officers that you are a U.S. citizen or that you are a legal resident, that in and of itself constitutes a violation of the law and the reason for them to be able to arrest you. So the best thing to do es quedarse callado and not say anything.
Calladito más bonito, ese mi mamá.
Sí, no digas mentiras porque ya sabes lo que te pasa. El demonio viene por ti.
And also, you get back to Jorge Gonzalez and reading about his life, and the Crusade for Justice was an urban rights and Chicano cultural urban movement during the 1960s, focusing on the social, political, and economic injustice for Chicanos. And you tell me these stories about Texas, and they did meet in Texas, right?
El Paso.
In El Paso, right? They had the meeting of great minds, and then understanding that they were fighting for the similar things, and now we're back here again on a different level. And what would you say the level? What's the level of the difference of back then and then today's, and now the executive decisions that the president has taken?
Back then, the police and those within the realm of the Department of Justice took advantage of us. For example, Reyes Lopez Tijerina was a participant at that meeting in El Paso in 1972. He had been named one of the leaders by Martin Luther King in 1968 in one of the marches that Martin Luther King had. And so because of that, he was a target for the FBI and ATF and all these other federal agencies, where they harassed him. They made him out to be loco. And in fact, at one point after that meeting in 72, he was incarcerated and placed in a mental institute because that's the way that the FBI and other law agencies wanted people to view upon one of our leaders, in Reyes Lopez Tijerina, who really did what he could to help our people. Él peleó the land grants in New Mexico, for example, when land grants were given so that Hispanos could come and settle the land in New Mexico. What happened is the white Anglo-Saxon rancher and the land developers took over those land grants. Reyes Lopez fought that, but unfortunately, again, they made him out to be the bad guy. They incarcerated him. They put him in prison for 2 years. He came out. He fought with rifles. Unfortunately, he was arrested again, another 2 years in prison. And that's what they did. Jorge Gonzalez was constantly harassed. All these leaders, Jose Angel Gutierrez in Crystal City, Texas, was harassed.
Ruben Salazar, look what happened to him.
Ruben Salazar was murdered.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that was what's going on. That's why the society, the white society, white Anglo society, stopped our progress. We have to resume that progress. That's why Yo Soy Joaquin de Jorge Gonzalez now is really relevant today, 2025, because we need to pick up where our real, original Chicano leaders left off.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the next post from the ACLUMV. Know your rights if you are protesting. Best practices. One moment. Have a buddy at the protests. Have the number of a buddy not at the protests. Keep an eye on the exits. Don't forget anything that could implicate you. Follow the laws and follow the organizer's lead. Know who may be at the protests and their role. What if I'm detained or arrested while protesting? Try to stay calm. Ask the officer if you're free to go. If not, affirmatively and clearly state, I am invoking my Fifth Amendment right to stay silent and I will not speak until my attorney is present. You do not have to agree to a search or your belongings, but an officer may do a pat down if they think you have a weapon or have committed a crime. When can a protest forcibly be disbanded? Police may only require a protest to disband as a last resort where there is a present danger. Officers must give 3 audible and understandable orders to disperse before disbanding a protest forcefully, unless illegal activity is occurring. Officers must leave open a clear exit route. Can I record video or take photos at a protest? Yes. It is perfectly legal to record or photograph anything that is in plain view from a public space. This includes any interactions with law enforcement and counter protesters. If you believe your rights have been violated, if you can, take notes on what happened. Try to include the officer's badge and patrol car numbers and the agency they work for. Get contact information for witnesses. And you can find out more about your rights from aclumv.org. What are your thoughts on this with the protests recently in Las Vegas, gentlemen?
Well, as I mentioned before, I wish the people who organized that would have listened to this or read this from the ACLU, because otherwise, nothing that the negative would not have happened.
Because se hizo un desmadre, ¿verdad? Se hizo un desmadre totalmente.
Sí, fue una cosa horrible.
I mean, we got to protest. We got to do it right, man. There's some leadership over there. Know what you're protesting for. We're there for a cause, not just for Instagram, to get all these, likes, and just know what's up. And hopefully, maybe we could show the way to these youngsters.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, 2 or 3 days ago, the Culinary Union had a protest on the Strip, but they knew how to do it. I mean, nobody that I know of, nobody got arrested. They were there protesting the immigration matter, the immigration roundups. Pero again, they were vociferous, they were effusive, but they were also careful not to violate the law.
And if somebody gets arrested, they know why, and there's even a reason for it. So even that's pretty organized.
Well, I think, protesting, I do believe in peaceful protesting. It is effective. But also it's like almost like if you have a Latino neighbor or Mexicano neighbor, it's like taking tamales to your neighbor when they're not Latinos, right? And giving them an opportunity to understand through your food, or, sharing your ideas with people in an effective way. And I know that, creating violence is not a proper way to do things. We already went through a process in the 60s and 70s. We saw what the insurrection did in Washington. We don't want to act that way. We want to be, civil and show people that, there is civility, but there is also a purpose behind your protest.
that's funny you bring that up. The January 6th, I mean, that was a protest. Look how crazy that got, right? But the reality of it is, people have the freedom to express their frustrations or the things that they feel are unjust or unfair. But definitely there needs to be, in order for it to be effective, si no nomás es un desmadre, a get together, whatever, so that you can make progress. There has to be an objective, there has to be leadership, there has to be some kind of organization. There's got to be a purpose for that protest. We've seen what happened during all the protests during 2020 and 2021. The Black Lives Matter movement, the George Floyd, all these protests, and they were protesting not only in the United States, they were protesting all over the world. And we've seen that. A lot of them got a little crazy, but there was a lot of things that came out of all these protests. At the end of the day, people are frustrated, people are scared, people are passionate, people want to be heard. I think the best way to be heard is being able to have a clear message of what you want to communicate. Something that I want to add. A lot of times people mistake patriotism for ser fanático, right? We get a little carried away, we get crazy, and that's not just the Hispanic community, the African American community. We've seen it January 6th. That was neither of those, and how crazy that got. I feel that we have the freedom to do that, the freedom of speech, the freedom to protest, but it has to be done in a way that's going to move the dial forward, not make things worse for the cause that we're trying to speak up on.
Well, January 6th was more than a protest. It was an insurgency.
Yeah.
And people actually got arrested for doing what they did. Over 1,200 people got put in prison for doing what they did. Unfortunately, the president now, who took over on January the 20th, let all of them free, even though they basically committed murder. Not basically, they did commit murder. And they violated the officers that were there to protect the property of the U.S. government, to protect the senators and the congressmen and women that were there. They were there to protect the people of the United States of America. They got violated. They actually did.
Assaulted.
And
Can you imagine that was Latinos in that?
Oh,
What happened?
they would have been shot.
No doubt.
And that's just it. I mean, it's one of those things that, especially right now, it's whose America is this? Everybody wants to claim America as their own and only theirs. And that's not the case. Unfortunately, it will never be that again, because of just the sheer numbers of how many different immigrants from different parts of the country. One of the things that amazes me in all these immigration and raids and roundups, I don't see any immigrants from Russia being arrested, any immigrants from Europe, from Australia, from Asia. I don't see any of those immigrants being sought after, or any of them being arrested in any of the video clips or news clips that are being shown. I mean, it's an obvious target. It's an obvious message of who they're targeting and why they're doing it. But at the end of the day, there is far more millions of individuals that are here legally, that can vote, that should vote, and should see what it is they're voting for.
Okay, gentlemen, going on to the next trending social media post. This one is from the White House. It says, this was posted on Valentine's Day. Roses are red, violets are blue. Come here illegally and we'll deport you. What are your thoughts on this post from the Instagram of the White House?
Fuck that puto.
Honestly, I thought it was a joke when I seen that. I did. I thought it was a joke. I didn't realize it was an act. It was actually on the website. Yeah.
Well, again, that's Tom Homan on the bottom.
Yeah.
He has made no bones about the fact that he feels as negatively as he does relevant to undocumented immigrants. And he's the one that has threatened the mayors of cities, including the mayor of the city of Chicago. He
was beefing with the Pope.
Well, and the thing is that, as an example, they tried threatening the mayor of New York, and then what they did is
they pardoned him.
They tried buying him, and so right now that's where it stands. Pero the fact of the matter is that these people do not look upon the deportation of of our people is a joke. And unfortunately, now they're even, as you know, planning on detaining our undocumented immigrants in Guantanamo Bay. Give me a break. Esa es una prisión for the federal prison for terrorists, not undocumented immigrants. And it's so sad that we are allowing that to happen, that we have elected officials that are Democrats that are not fighting as adamantly and as effusively as they should for the rights of all people. And unfortunately, they seem to be cowarding away from this president who is every day apparently gains more and more enthusiasm as to how much harm he can cause and how much harm he can get away with. That happened, by the way, in 1846, when President Polk saw that he could do the same to Mexico, and he sent troops into Mexico and fought the Mexican-American War. He created the war. Y lo que pasó, Mexico was not ready for it. And what happened? 2 million or 20 million acres of land, of Mexican land, was given to the United States of America. Y eso está pasando ahora. They're trying to do the same thing, and they're using that as an arm against Mexico. The good thing, though, and maybe I'm the only one that feels this way, but the president of Mexico,
I like her.
Claudia Steinbaum has done so much to protect Mexico, and she's the only one that has confronted Trump on every basis, including the Gulf of America.
She requesting passports right now. She starts to request passports.
Yeah, but as you may know, Trump is sending jets over Mexico to supposedly look at the terrorists who are the cartels. And Mexico is saying, okay, let them do that. But that's about as far as it's going to get. And I wish they could fight, but I don't think Mexico has even close to the weapons.
But here's the thing, though. Other countries do that will support Mexico. And then what is that going to create? Because Russia would support Mexico.
China would
support Mexico.
Mexico will support Mexico.
So it's one of those things that, do we really want to take it there? Because who's going to gain from that?
No, and again, all Trump is doing is threatening. That's what I said, because he wants to get away with whatever he can get away with.
But that poem, he wrote is, to me, it's for his people. I think it's for his, I would say, the MAGA or people who I feel that way. I think it's just for them to show that it's like it's manifesting more hatred, with simple just poetry he's trying to put together. But to go back to his when he first became president, like me being born in the United States, I am a citizen. I take that with a lot of pride. Going through a process of being Mexicano, Chicano, growing up in Las Vegas. They gave my parents and my brother the residency, their green card at that time. And this is, in the 70s. And when he became president the first time, my older brother, I told him, I said, brother, you need to go get your citizenship because we're not sure what's going to happen. So I took him to a person here in Las Vegas that helped me, helped my brother. And when he was being questioned and I sat next to him and he was explaining to her his fear of not being able to do certain things. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize my brother lived in that kind of fear, even though he was, a hard worker. He's worked since he was 15, 16 years old, like myself, in the hospitality industry, restaurants. Amazing big brother. He was a boxer, just like Corky. We all box too. That's why I can relate to him too. I know what it's like to get hit. But the most important part about boxing is getting back up and understanding, sometimes you're going to win and sometimes you're going to lose in life. But then that inspired my brother, and he ended up actually getting us the citizenship, and it alleviated so much stress. So how many people out there right now were maybe one document away or the opportunity to even file papers? Sometimes people don't even know. I've helped people through the office just with patients start the process and end up citizens because they thought they couldn't become a citizen.
But even then, your brother is not free from deportation. I want you to know.
He's a citizen now.
What you have to do is one more step. Take him to DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, and get the real ID on the driver's license, because people are being U.S. citizens are being deported who do not have the real ID on their license,
That is possible.
That's happening. Yeah. No, that's happening. And one lady, she and her daughter were deported, and she had to use her own money to get back to the United States of America. You know, the government didn't say, "Oops, we screwed up. Let me help you." No way. Hey, that's your tough luck. You didn't have the real ID on your license or ID. You get back however way you can. The fact of the matter is that even U.S. citizens are being questioned and deported. So we have to take the right steps in order to again, going back to the Democratic Party that is really sitting on their hands, very cowardly, because this man, President Trump, is trying to change the 14th Amendment to where if you're born in this country from undocumented immigrants, you are an undocumented immigrant. You are a criminal, and they will take away your birthright. They will take away the fact that even though the 14th Amendment says that you are born in this country, it's a sovereign nation, you are now a citizen of that sovereign nation. The fact of the matter is that if he changes that, and the Democrats allow him to do that, and the other, let's forget the Republican Party. It's no longer the Republican Party. It's the MAGA Party now. But we have to keep that from happening. I'm third generation American of Mexican descent. I'm very proud to have El Corazón Mexicano. You know, but even then, I went and got my real ID, not because of any of this, but because it lessens any trouble that you get at the border. And now it's even worse than that. Obviously, it's even worse than that. So we have to make sure that we contact our elected officials and make sure that the 14th Amendment is not amended. Imagine this. A gentleman by the name of Bill Richardson, who ran for president in 2008. In 2008, he was born in Long Beach, California, where his mother, after a week when he was born, they came from Mexico City. His mother had Bill Richardson in Long Beach, California. He became a U.S. citizen, and what happened a week later? They went back to Mexico. Bill Richardson, who ran for the presidency of this country, lived in Mexico City until he was 14 years old. You know, and so if that can happen to somebody like that, Alberto Gonzalez, by the way, who was the Attorney General for the United States of America under George Bush, the son, he would have his birthright taken away. Although I understand that they're fighting that by saying, okay, it's 2007 of 2025. If you're born after that date of undocumented immigrants, then you are a target for deportation.
That's what Rob was about to read.
Moving on to the next post here from Nevada News. Fourth federal judge blocks Trump's birthright citizenship order. President Donald Trump suffered his latest legal setback this week. This is from a post 4 days ago, after a federal judge on Thursday ruled that Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship for children of undocumented parents is illegal. It's the fourth time a court has deemed Trump's order illegal on the grounds that birthright citizenship, a principle constitutionally protected by the 14th Amendment, has been long settled case law. What is your thoughts on this?
Well, there's something called the U.S. Supreme Court. And the matter is that the majority of the Supreme Court justices are Republicans that were placed there by Donald Trump. So if that case reaches the Supreme Court,
that's where it gets complicated.
You know, it's a flip a coin because
you got some teammates in
there.
The
fact that 4 judges, because he keeps going to judges until he finds a judge that's going to say, "You're right, Mr. Trump. You know, let's change this." And eventually it's going to reach the U.S. Supreme Court. And unfortunately, the fear is that the judges are going to rule in his favor. The justices.
What do you guys think is the reason why it's so important for him? Is this just a racial thing? What does he have against Latinos or Mexicanos? Or I mean, now you're going with the kids that are not even born here yet.
Well, I mean,
and denying them the right.
If you understand the theology or the thought process of somebody that's a white nationalist, a white supremacist. I mean, think about what they believe in, what their beliefs are, and it's one of the things that is feared is that replacement theory, that Latinos and minorities are replacing the white individual in this country. For somebody that's white, that's the fear, because you're no longer the majority. You're no longer the power. You're the minority.
Losing the control.
Losing the control, because if you think about it, a lot of the things he's doing, a lot of the thought process behind it, the hatred. I mean, that's very similar to, history. It's repeating itself. If you look at not that long ago, the KKK, how did they operate? They didn't care if you're a productive member of society, if you contributed, if you whatever. If you were not white, you were a target. It wasn't just African Americans. It was anybody that wasn't white. And from what I see, him doing and his cabinet, it's that. It's going back in time to a time not that long ago where if you weren't white or didn't be subservient to the white, ideal, you were a target. That's the only thing I could explain, because it is history repeating itself, and unfortunately, the numbers now are not the numbers that they were before. Fortunately or unfortunately, there's a lot more Latinos, a lot more African Americans, a lot more minorities that aren't white, that are American citizens, that are able to see and understand what happened not that long ago when the KKK would be able to lynch somebody and hang him on a tree, and it was okay because law enforcement was also KKK.
We have to look at the fact that the only book that Donald Trump has read is The Third Reich.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that Hitler did it the wrong way. Hitler used a rifle and bullets. This guy is doing what? All the nominations that he has are people that he wants. And all the senators, the mega senators and mega congressmen and women are voting in his favor. Look at all the appointments that he's made. They're all people who are unqualified. I mean, he's a news anchor who's now the Secretary of Defense. And what he's doing is he wants to buy Greenland. He wants to annex Canada and make it the 51st state. He wants to annex the Panama Canal. And so what he's doing is he's very strategically pointing out areas where airplanes can land, where he can house troops. And look at the troops, that he's getting rid of minorities in the troops. He's getting rid of the transgenders in the troops. He's making this country white. And we are allowing him to let that happen. And does it sound like an alarmist? Yeah, call me an alarmist. But again, it makes sense. The fact that he's putting all kinds of people in strategic positions that are all yes people. None of those individuals that he's placed as secretaries of this or secretaries of that are going to go against his orders and his wishes. And then, unfortunately, Elon Musk, because of the richest man in the world, he wants to be even richer and control even more. He's right with him. And in fact, heading the charge. That Department of Quasi-Government Efficiency is really a hoax. It's set up because they wanted to set it up. And again, the Democrats, and I blame them for not fighting it, are saying, hey, it's an illegal creation. Okay, so what? They're not doing anything about it because they can't. Ahí estamos. We got a lot of fear.
Está cabrón.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to the next post. Nevada news. Nevada part of multi-state lawsuit seeking injunction against Elon Musk. Nevada Attorney General Aaron Ford is helping lead a multi-state federal lawsuit filed Thursday against President Donald Trump and Elon Musk, arguing that Trump violated the U.S. Constitution by creating the Department of Government Efficiency and appointing Musk to lead that effort without formal approval from Congress. What are our thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, Elon Musk is, again, he was placed there by Donald Trump. All the senators, I have to repeat myself, are in favor of what Donald Trump is doing. Aaron Ford, knowing that he's not going to succeed, he's doing this. Why? Because Aaron Ford has eyes to become the next governor of the state of Nevada. And let's face it, Joe Lombardo is not that popular within our state. So if we look at the fact that Aaron Ford is doing all these things, taking all these moves that are going nowhere, without the help and support of the Democratic Party, they're not going to go anywhere. And right now there's 23 states that are taking that position, with Aaron Ford. But there's 50 states in the union. So and I'm not a mathematician by far, but I can tell you that 23 is not half of 50. So, we're having a hell of a problem. And I don't see that this multi-state lawsuit from succeeding. Again, considering to the fact that Donald Trump has all these justices in his pocket. Ahí estamos.
Okay, now we're just moving to open commentary. This is the part where we just go in topic by topic, kind of a speed round, if you will. The first topic is immigrant deportations. Is this a civil or criminal offense?
It's a civil offense. It's not criminal, but it is being criminalized. It is a civil and not a criminal offense.
Well, the Lake and Riley Act of 2025, which our 4 Democratic delegates voted for, states that anybody who steals a pack of gum literally becomes a criminal. So it is a criminal offense. All of this is criminal. It's based on the word criminal.
Moving on to the next topic. There was an executive order that was signed by the president, something around the lines of a transgender ban in sports and in military. Have you heard about this, and what are your thoughts on this?
When we had the Olympics not that long ago, and this boxer in the female category was just beating the crap out of all the female boxers. That's the first time that it was like so in your face, right? And to this day, I don't even know if it came back that was a transgender individual, if it was just a female. But the reality of it is these are the times that we're living in. These are individuals that live in our communities, that participate not only in the military or in sports, but in every walk of life. We have people that are elected to Congress that fall under this. So honestly, it's just something that's so new that I don't really have an opinion on that.
Well, that boxer that you allude to is was proved to be a female with very strong male kind of
characteristics,
hormones,
and muscles.
The fact of the matter is that doesn't matter to Trump. Nobody is going to be able to participate, and that violates the NCAA rules, question 9, that permits anybody who wants to partake in sports to do so. So it's a discrimination action on the part of the president. As you know, the highest ranking military officer, a female, was taken off her post. She was asked to resign because she's transgender. So again, whatever we may feel at this table is really no vale la pena.
My personal opinion when it comes to sports, I also was a boxer. I had about 27, 28 amateur fights. And you're literally getting hit in the head. So if there's a transgender there at a semi-pro level, somebody can get hurt. So that's just my personal opinion.
Well, you're absolutely right. But they could have done it based on the sport, in my opinion.
Yeah, it comes.
Okay.
And then, you're stronger.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Or in any other sport for that matter.
It is a touchy subject, and But yeah, it's when it comes to sports again, we're stronger, we're bigger, when it comes to being a soldier, I agree. It's going to war. It doesn't matter. I don't know. That's just.
Don't forget, in Mexico we had las soldaderas and the women fighting
Adelitas.
on both sides of the revolution. So that wasn't questioned back then. I think yes, there is certain sports. I know that women and men. Does everybody gain progress in regards to building muscle and speed in sports? I understand. I played soccer. I played against women. I played against men. There's co-ed soccer. I know that, at the professional level, I am happy that women have, the level of play that is available to soccer in general. So, but I do feel that there is certain things in regards to the dangerous aspect of getting punched by a 250-pound man, versus getting punched by a 200-pound, 250-pound woman. But at the same time, I think we respect other human beings and what they can do as well.
The attack on the transgender, and let's say that the majority agrees on the sports aspect of it, but there's other aspects of transgenders.
I agree.
And it's a horrible attack on these individuals. Going to what Serafin says about Congress, there's a congresswoman who is transgender, and I mean every time she walks into the bathroom, my God, they have to have security there to basically allow her to be in there by herself. And there's other aspects of things that transcend sports, and la mentalidad. I really feel badly for some of these individuals. They are truly within their mind, hey, I'm a female if you're a male, or I'm a male if you're a female, and they believe that. And if you're taking every right away from them, the mental aspect of things is going to be really, I think, drastic, dramatic. Again, putting sports aside, it is something that society has to think about very strongly. But again, right now, as it stands, it doesn't matter what society thinks. It's what President Donald J. Trump thinks.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next topic now. There's been a lot of talk about abolishing or reforming FEMA. With all the natural disasters that have been happening with our country, what is your opinion on natural disasters recovery with either being a state-controlled issue or a federally controlled issue? What are your thoughts on this?
I think it should stay federal, and I think it should not be politicized. If there's a natural disaster or there is a situation that requires support from the federal government, there's funding for that. It should not be politicized because, like California with the fires, I know there was a lot of issues with, Governor Newsom because, he's a Democrat and he opposed Trump. The residents, that should not be a part of any, disaster recovery or support through FEMA or any other federal agency. My opinion.
No, I totally agree. The only problem is, again, Donald J. Trump. It's what he believes. He doesn't believe in helping out Newsom because he didn't clean up the forest as supposedly he mentioned, and it's he blames everybody else. And if South Carolina wants help, they have to help him. And it's a matter of a give and take, according to Donald J. Trump. And it's unfortunate that they place, again, going back to those people that are put in those secretaries' positions, that they must do what he tells them to do. And FEMA is no longer FEMA.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Next topic here. The wars that are currently happening with the United States involved in Gaza and Ukraine. What are your thoughts on this?
So a lot of these things are a lot deeper than what the community or the day-to-day people understand or know. There's strategy behind every single involvement that the United States has in a foreign country. there is always something to gain. There's always a reason. We justify our involvement in whatever foreign country we're at for the purpose of a gain on our behalf or for us. So realistically, when we look at, for example, Gaza and Israel, it's a very politically charged debate and conversation. There has been so many protests around the world over the United States involvement in Gaza. How many people have been killed, and children and women and all that. I mean, if you look at what the United States has to gain, you'll see, or where the United States has most to gain, you'll see who they will side with. Same thing in Ukraine. Where is the most gain for the United States? And if you're following that, or if you have followed it, the Trump administration's position with Ukraine and how they're going to support or not support, there's something to gain for the United States. So realistically, it doesn't really matter how many innocent people die. It's how much can we gain.
And not only that, like in Gaza, Trump is saying that once we fix Gaza up, we will not allow the Palestinians in. That is called ethnic cleansing. You know, and he wants to make it, going back to what I mentioned, one of those alarmist things that I mentioned a while ago, he wants bases for his military airplanes, and Gaza will be the perfect place for that. You know, and it's unfortunate, but unfortunately, some people are buying it, especially the Jews are saying, hey, that's a great idea. The Palestinians are saying, no, it's not a great idea, and we're not going to let it happen. You know, we'll do our own cleanup. We'll do our own rebuilding. We don't need the USA to do this for us. And I think, I have a feeling that the Palestinians are going to win out on this one, that particular argument. You know, it's ethnic cleansing from the word go.
I'm sure Egypt and Jordan have a lot to say in it as well. You know, when it comes to, you know, being involved and seeing people suffer from a humanistic perspective, I think, you know, people saw enough suffering of bombing the Palestinians, and I understand what, you know, Hamas did. It was, you know, something horrible as well, what human beings are capable of. But I think, you know, coming to a peaceful resolution and will be important. But then again, who controls the narrative? You know, the Trump wants to be looked at as he ended the wars, obviously in both, so that he can say that during his, you know, presidency he was able to end the Ukraine war, and also, you know, end the Gaza conflict with the Jewish people. But at the same time, you know, we have to have some very diplomatic discussions, you know, on how to create peace in that region. And I know it's historic in nature, it's biblical, and there's people out there who are a little more aggressive towards others. And when you see the catastrophic bombing of these innocent human beings who were, according to them, in the way, and I understand, you know, Hamas did something horrible, but I think I always believe there should be a peaceful resolution. And I hope that, you know, we get to that point, and that I hope the countries that do get involved, you know, are working together to resolve this issue.
Thank you. Moving on to the next topic, jumping down a couple, checks and balances, the three branches of government: judicial, there's congressional, and executive. So there's been more talk about this with the executive orders that have been happening by the president. And there's been more talk about, should there be term limits and should there be age limits in Congress? What are your thoughts on this?
So the three branches, legislative, executive, and judicial, it's been that way for a reason. Checks and balances. You know, one creates the laws, the other enforces the laws, and the other interprets the laws. One of the things that I mean, we have a perfect storm here, you know, where one particular party or methodology is balanced to one side and not the other, where there's very little hope for a fair interpretation of a law or implementation of a new law or you know, enforcement of a law. And those are the things that I feel, because you have those in local government, state government, and federal government, those three branches. So I think being able to understand a little bit more about what we do have as tools available to us, and understand that they're there for a reason so that we can request from our elected officials more assistance there. They're the ones that are elected to be able to fight for us through these three legislative branches.
That proclamation, when they say that defending the USA against enemies, foreign and domestic, again, going back to the MAGA party, they're not doing it. They're not doing it. They're allowing Trump to do what he wants to do. Trump is not fooling anybody. In his campaign, he said, when I get in there, I'm going to be a dictator. He said that. Okay? Now, as I'm sure you know, Congress is trying to pass a law where an amendment, I should say, amendment to the Constitution that allows him to run for a third term. I can almost assure you, but first of all, he's already said that J.D. Vance he's not gonna get his support for the presidency. Meaning what? I'm gonna get my support for the presidency. That's the third term that he's fighting for. And the way that the Senate and the representatives are catering to him, I do not doubt in the least that it's going to happen.
What happens to Obama if he wants to run again? In that case,
against all the odds that this guy is building against, I doubt it. I doubt if anything like that would happen. I mean, Obama can try, but again, look at the odds. The odds are pretty much against him, pretty much against us.
All right, gentlemen.
Lastly, part of the checks and balances, I know that the president assigns judges, and hopefully, the previous president put enough judges in place as well to assist, and that checks and balances as it goes through the process, as he's doing all these executive orders, that the judges are there in place to like we talked about Birthright, that we have those checks and balances consistent at a time when we need it the most, which is historically at this moment.
So one of the things that I guess a little bit of silver lining is that executive orders are only good for the length of that president that created the executive order, but that's that's a long ways out.
Is it kind of bulletproof to go for a third term? Constitution?
Well, they're changing a lot of things and overriding a lot of things. So, I mean,
Wouldn't surprise you?
No me sorprendería. A estas alturas no me sorprendería.
We have to realize that he's only been in power 1 month. 1 month. He got basically 4 years to destroy this nation and make it what he wants to make of it. And the way, I don't know if the name Mike Johnson means anything to you, but he is keeping the House of Representatives in line. Johnson is. And unfortunately, Trump is going to get what he wants.
Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to the next topic here. Social media bans. With you all being fathers and thinking about your families, what is your opinion on social media bans for kids, as there's been talks about having social media bans for kids in school while they're at school? And also, how about influencers or celebrities doing social media bans for them if they get too extreme with their posts? What are your thoughts?
Well, that's that's obviously it's personal to everybody because there's an algorithm, and the way you search for things and the way you when you type in any word or any phrase, obviously you're going to get back those kind of perspectives. And if you have a teenager, you definitely want to, as a parent, you're responsible, number one, to what your kids are getting. That's important to keep in that process, is to making sure that the parents are parenting, and also teaching your kid about good and bad and looking for the correct information. There's people out there who have bad intentions, and when you're a young teenager, I have a 16-year-old. I know he's on social media. He communicates on a daily with his friends, and I know I also have those conversations with him to help him understand what the world is about. For them, is these is basically just looking at a phone. For us, who are older, we went through a process of one-on-one communication. Do you guys remember in class people would write notes to each other in little folded methods, and then obviously we got the beepers, and now we got cell phones, and now we have obviously AI to help out and to kind of disrupt people's lives for individuals who might not be educated and understand what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If you're a parent, you definitely got a parent. You can't allow the tablet to educate and raise your child. I see infants that don't speak or walk it, and they already know how to swipe and how to access an iPad and a phone. And I mean, it's easier and convenient for someone to give a child a tablet para que se entretengan, but realistically, at the end of the day, it shouldn't be the government that's telling you how to raise your child. It should be you. As far as social media, it monetizes. A lot of people make a lot of money with social media. There's the legality of freedom of speech. What I think is funny is how TikTok, because it's owned by China, they wanted to ban it. Well, what about Mark Zuckerberg, and Instagram and Facebook? At the end of the day, you have to assume the responsibility. I'm speaking as a parent. Assume the responsibility of teaching your children correct principles and model those principles. Don't tell them don't do this and then you're doing it. It's one of those things that nobody's gonna be a better teacher or be a better model for your children than you or whoever's at the home. Whether it's a grandparent or whoever's raising your child. But definitely, I think it's it always boils down to finances, to money.
What I see in social media, as I see the different generations, I think there's it is so quick and swiping that I see that there's a lack of concentration. Everything's so fast that it does something that I see the difference on my own kids. The 23-year-old, because he had a different speed, he's able to focus more, a little bit longer, versus my 18-year-old that just happened to fast. His mind is just faster. And me as a parent, like, dude, you got to slow down. You got to slow down. And now I see the 13-year-olds, the 10-year-olds, the tendency of the lack of concentration, concentrarte en lo que se están haciendo. That's the negative side. The positive side, they do get a lot of information, content, money, trends, so there's a sword, una espada de dos filos is the way I see it. And dangerous.
Well, I think it goes back to what I've been saying all along during this podcast, is that we have to watch out for Donald Trump. First of all, he wants somebody within the USA to take over TikTok. China, as I understand it, has been given, 3 months, 90 days or something like that to find it.
To sell it?
Yes, and who right now has $800 billion in the bank? His right hand, by the name of Elon Musk. And Elon already owns X and a few other social media things. Number one. Number two, he being Trump, is banning certain media people from the White House and from the press conferences.
The AP.
Those that create problems for him. If we look at, for example, Jorge Ramos from Univision, all of a sudden Jorge Ramos resigns. Ya que se retira, he's retired. If you recall, 8 years ago, Trump pointed Jorge Ramos out and called him out.
Escorted him out.
And in my opinion, this is of course my opinion, is that Univision has been threatened relevant to Jorge. So I just don't see Jorge Ramos all of a sudden saying, I call it quits, which he did, number one. Number two is that the AP, the American Associated Press, has been banned from the White House. Very soon it'll be the UPI, and he keeps doing that until he controls social media, and that's what he's gaining. He's getting there. again, going back to Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg all of a sudden says, "I'm not going to check."
Fact checking.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
They're all lining up. Huh?
It's all leading to that. Y lo está haciendo. Trump is doing it now. So
In
he's
real
like at
time.
the end of his session.
Okay, gentlemen, on to the last topic for the night. For the first episode of the Yo Soy Joaquin podcast, artificial intelligence, AI. What are your thoughts on this? Are we welcoming it or are we opposing it?
This is what I tell myself, what I tell my team, what I tell my kids. Either you work for the robot or the robot works for you. You choose. AI could be a really, really good tool for a lot of things, and it could also be dangerous. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, AI has come a long way, from when it started with ChatGPT and helping you write an email or a paper to where it's at now. I mean, it could definitely, copy a voice. And I know for a while, gente, were calling for ransom for people. And, there's just so many things that can happen and go wrong with AI. But like Raciel says, I 100% agree. It could be a tool to benefit you as a student, as a entrepreneur, employee, whatever. But it can also be dangerous, just like everything else out there. You teach your kids, you practice correct principles, and you have freedom of free will to be able to do with it whatever you want. At the end of the day, try to keep your circle, wherever you associate with, your family, in school, your job, whatever. Just know the dangers. Don't be ignorant to it, or don't pretend it's not there, because it is.
Well, they use. Sorry to interrupt.
No, right.
Well, they use the word democratizing, right, in regards to social media, and what between Obama's election cycle, and when Trump came in as well. But AI, in the perspective of business, if you're a small business, or just say a 1 or 2 person business entrepreneur who's trying to figure out how to start up things, well, there is a lot of benefit, where you don't have to really hire somebody to do your website anymore, or to get content, and the idea is to figure out a way to, help those people who are starting up. That's what the United States is about, right? Like small businesses as well, who contribute so much to be able to always sustain, a lifestyle or a family, and making sure that, you're able to put your kids through college, the American dream. But at the same time, obviously, you have to be concerned about the people who's controlling AI. And that's the part where, government comes in and is able to regulate those individuals, because look what Elon Musk is doing right now. He's basically just posting up in the White House with his son wearing a cap. Everybody's dressed up, and he's there with the President of the United States, and he's basically able to express to all the billionaires or the trillionaires coming up that he's the man. But there's definitely more things for me to understand. Obviously, I don't have a PhD in AI, but I do know that as a small business owner in Las Vegas, Nevada, and knowing how hard it was to start up in Phoenix, here or somewhere else, I think that gives you an opportunity if you use it properly, and it gives you an opportunity. Good tool.
That word "if" is a big word. It's only 2 letters, but it's damn big. If we use it properly, etc. Personally, I know very little about AI. What I do know, I don't like it. It's scary. It can. I mean, I'm so afraid to open up Facebook or my own email, and with all these phony things that happen. The other day I put in there that save this young lady for us. Apparently she's lost, or somebody stole her, kidnapped her. And then I got all these things, but that's AI. It's not really true. What is true anymore? And I would prefer going back to 10 years ago when the damn thing didn't exist. Again, that's old school perhaps, but I'd rather be safe than sorry.
You just can't stop it. You can't stop it. I mean, if I could get into the dark stuff about it, but and I won't.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But
that's what I'm saying.
To me, it's an amazing tool, and at the same time, it could be as amazing I see it, I do see that it could be the end of humanity as we speak. That's the way I see that AI. I mean, maybe I watched one too many movies.
Just like the internet, when the internet started. I mean, look what, the internet became. It became a tool for a lot of people, but the dark web and all these other things that happen on the internet are, it just, you could go both ways, but.
Yeah, and there's a positive, there's a negative.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, here we are.
All right, gentlemen. So that was the first episode of the Yo Soy Joaquin podcast. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in on Union Raza. You'll be able to catch clips from the podcast on social media this Friday, and we'll see you next time.
Shout out to all the raza out there. Yo soy Joaquin.
Peace.